Welcome to Next Art. We share insights for gallery reps, collectors, and artists, exploring tech trends shaping the future of art.
You got it.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into 30 years of digital art evolution.
Yeah.
You've given some fascinating material on how digital art went from experimental beginnings in the 90s
Right.
to the NFT boom and the rise of immersive installations.
It's a fascinating journey and one that really makes you question what art even means in the digital age.
I know, right?
Like, did you know that some of the earliest computer art was actually created using algorithms? We're talking decades before AI art became a buzzword.
That's wild. And we'll even be talking about an artist who launched a satellite into space as an art piece.
Oh, yeah, that's coming up.
So get ready to explore how digital art got to where it is today and where it might be headed.
Absolutely.
Where do we even begin with something this big?
Well, let's start with the pioneers of the 1990s. It was a time of incredible experimentation. Artists were embracing computers and algorithms, but the art market wasn't quite sure what to make of it.
It seems like there was a real disconnect between the artists pushing boundaries and the established art world.
For sure.
You've got these pioneers like Vera Molnar creating geometric art using algorithms in the early days of computing.
Exactly. Molnar's work is a great example of how early digital artists were already exploring the potential of algorithms to create art. She used algorithms to generate complex geometric patterns, pushing the boundaries of what was considered possible in art at the time.
It's like they were ahead of their time.
Oh, totally.
And then you have someone like Paik, who was already blowing everyone's minds with his multimedia installations using TV screens, sound, and interactive elements.
Right.
It's like they were from the future.
Yeah, Paik's work really challenged the traditional notion of art as a static object.
I could see that.
He saw technology as a way to create dynamic, multisensory experiences that engage the viewer on a whole new level.
Well, that's so cool.
And even earlier, the Cybernetic Serendipity exhibition in 1968 really set the stage for everything that followed.
Oh, yeah, that was a landmark moment, showcasing the possibilities of computer-generated art.
It really was.
It featured everything from interactive installations to sound experiments.
A real mix.
It's amazing to think how far back these ideas go.
Yeah.
But even with all this innovation, it seems like the traditional art world was slow to catch on.
Absolutely. Online platforms like ArtNet and ArtPrice emerged in the 90s, offering information and a way to buy and sell art online, but collectors were hesitant.
I can understand why back then the idea of buying something you couldn't physically hang on your wall was pretty radical.
Right.
It's interesting to see how the concept of ownership has evolved in the digital age.
It really has. Now imagine walking through a public space and suddenly being confronted by these thought-provoking messages flashing on giant LED screens.
Wow.
That's the power of Jenny Holter's work.
Her Truisms piece is a classic example of how digital art can make us think about the world around us in new ways. What I find so interesting about Holzer is how she uses technology to amplify her message and bring it into the public sphere.
Right.
It's not just about creating art for a gallery. It's about making art that engages with society.
That's a key point. Digital art can be a powerful tool for social commentary and challenging traditional ideas.
And she wasn't the only one pushing boundaries. Curry Archegel takes this idea of using technology in unexpected ways to a whole new level.
Yeah.
He uses things we encounter every day, like video games and internet culture, to create art.
He does.
His Super Mario Clouds piece is such a clever example. He hacks a Super Mario cartridge to make it display just the clouds from the game, turning a symbol of gaming into a minimalist, almost meditative experience.
Love that
It
word.
makes you look at something familiar in a completely new light.
He takes something we think we know, like a classic video game, and transforms it into something unexpected.
Yeah.
He makes us question our assumptions about what art can be and where we can find it.
Now we're getting into the truly mind-bending realm of digital art.
Oh.
Rithik Anadol creates these massive, immersive installations using AI and data.
His machine hallucination piece is a perfect example. He takes millions of digital images and uses AI to transform them into this swirling, dreamlike visual experience.
Amazing.
It's like stepping into the imagination of a machine.
It's incredible to think about the possibilities of AI in art.
I know, right?
Is this a new kind of creativity? What does it mean for the future of human expression?
Anadol's work raises some really thought-provoking questions about the nature of creativity in the digital age.
It does.
And then we have Team Lab, a Japanese collective who pushed the boundaries of immersive art even further.
Their borderless exhibition is legendary.
Oh, it is.
Imagine walking into a space where the digital landscapes are constantly changing around you, responding to your movements. It's like stepping into another dimension.
Their work really highlights how digital art can create truly interactive and participatory experiences.
Yeah.
The viewer isn't just observing the art, they become part of it.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, we need to talk about Hito's style. Her work brings a more critical perspective to the world of digital art.
Uh-huh.
She explores the darker side of technology surveillance, the impact of media on society.
Right.
Her piece, Factory the Sun, is a prime example. It blends video game aesthetics with commentary on labor and capitalism, creating this unsettling but powerful experience that makes you question the role of technology in our lives.
Heavy stuff.
It's a reminder that digital art can be more than just pretty visuals. It can be a tool for social critique and raising awareness about important issues.
Absolutely. And speaking of artists who challenge our perceptions, we have to talk about Trevor Packlin.
Yeah.
He's fascinated by the hidden systems that control our digital world, data centers, surveillance networks, undersea cables,
Right.
things we usually don't even think about.
And what's remarkable is that he doesn't just create art about these systems, he engages with them directly.
He does.
He actually launched a satellite into space called Orbital Reflector. It's a giant reflective object that you can see from Earth, blurring the lines between art science and politics.
That's a statement.
Talk about a statement.
It is.
It's amazing to see how these early digital artists were already pushing the boundaries of what art could be.
Right.
They were experimenting with new technologies, exploring new ways of creating and experiencing art, and challenging the very definition of art itself.
Yeah.
But as you said, the art market was still struggling to keep up.
Exactly. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how the rise of the internet in the 2000s brought new challenges and opportunities for the world of digital art.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me too.
We left off talking about how the art market was slow to embrace the digital art movement in the 90s,
Right.
but then the internet went mainstream in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Did that change things?
It did, but not in the way many people expected.
How so?
Well, the internet opened up new possibilities for creating and sharing art,
Okay.
but it also presented new challenges,
What?
particularly when it came to the art market.
Ah, I see what you mean.
Remember, collectors were still skeptical about buying art they couldn't physically touch?
Right. And the value of art has always been so closely tied to its physical existence.
Exactly.
So how did the art world adapt to this new digital landscape?
Well, one of the first attempts to bridge this gap was the rise of online auctions.
Online auctions.
Yeah, platforms like Christie's Live and Sotheby's Bid Now emerged, allowing collectors to bid on artworks remotely for the first time.
That sounds like a major step towards making art more accessible.
It was.
Did it work?
It was a step in the right direction,
Okay.
but the impact wasn't as significant as some had predicted.
Why not?
You see, the high-end art world thrives on personal relationships, trust, and the ability to see a work of art in person.
I guess that makes sense.
Many collectors were simply not comfortable spending millions of dollars on a piece they hadn't inspected with their own eyes.
That makes sense. It's a huge leap of faith to buy something so valuable without seeing it firsthand, especially when you factor in the nuances of texture, light, and scale that can be lost in digital reproduction.
Exactly. And this is where the physicality of art played key role. The art world, especially at the high end, was still very much rooted in the tangible.
So if online auctions weren't the game changer many hoped for,
Right.
what was driving the art market in the 2000s?
Art fairs exploded in popularity.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Events like Art Basel Frieze and TAFAF became major cultural events, attracting tens of thousands of visitors from all over the world.
That's fascinating. What made these art fairs so popular? Was it just about buying and selling art?
It was more than that.
Like what?
These fairs became cultural destinations, networking hubs, and a chance to see and be seen. They offered a curated experience, bringing together galleries, collectors, and artists from all over the world.
It sounds very exclusive.
It was about prestige, exclusivity, and the experience of encountering art in a specific context.
It sounds like art fairs played a significant role in shaping taste and trends within the art world.
They did.
But it also seems like it could create a barrier for smaller galleries and emerging artists.
You're absolutely right. The costs of participating in these fairs were enormous,
I bet.
which favored big-name galleries and established artists.
Of course.
Smaller galleries and emerging artists often struggled to compete.
So while the internet was opening up new possibilities for art creation and distribution,
Yeah,
it seems like the traditional art market was becoming even more concentrated in the hands of a few.
that's a great observation. The internet was democratizing access to art in many ways.
Okay.
But the high-end art market remained largely exclusive. This tension between accessibility and exclusivity would continue to play out in the years to come.
Now let's move on to the 2010s.
Okay.
This decade saw the rise of online platforms like Artsy and Sasachi Art, which aimed to make art more accessible to a wider audience.
Right.
How did these platforms change the game?
Platforms like Artsy and Saatchi Art represented a new approach to the art market.
In what way?
They brought a level of transparency and convenience that was previously lacking.
Okay.
You could browse thousands of artworks from the comfort of your own home.
Sounds nice.
Compare prices, learn about artists, and even buy directly from galleries.
That's cool.
It was a significant shift from the often opaque and intimidating world of traditional galleries.
It sounds like a much more user-friendly approach.
It was.
But did these platforms succeed in democratizing the art market?
They certainly made art more accessible and played a key role in educating new audiences about art, but they didn't completely level the playing field.
I see.
Most online sales were still happening at lower price points.
Okay.
The high-end art market, with its focus on blue-chip artists and established galleries, remained largely unaffected.
So the art market was becoming even more polarized, with a small group of artists and galleries dominating the high-end sales, while the rest were vying for visibility and recognition in a rapidly expanding online marketplace.
Precisely. The internet was making it easier for people to discover and buy art, but it wasn't necessarily making it easier for all artists to succeed. The traditional hierarchies of the art world were proving remarkably resilient even in the face of technological disruption.
However, while this polarization was happening at the top end of the market, something interesting was happening on a broader scale.
What's that?
We saw a huge increase in museum attendance and online engagement with art.
Absolutely. Museum visitor numbers exploded,
Wow.
with the top 100 museums attracting over 175 million visitors annually.
That's a lot.
And online platforms like ArtNet News were reporting tens of millions of readers.
So the interest was there.
It was clear that people were hungry for art and information about art, even if they weren't all buying multi-million-dollar masterpieces.
It seems like there was a growing disconnect between the increasingly exclusive high-end art market and the expanding diverse audience that was eager to engage with art in new ways.
You could say that.
It was a time of contradictions, yes, but also of possibilities.
That-
And this leads us to the most recent chapter in the evolution of digital art, the emergence of NFTs and the explosion of the digital art market in the 2020s.
That's right. The arrival of NFTs was a real turning point.
NFTs.
Yeah. For the first time, there was a way to establish verifiable ownership of digital assets.
Interesting.
It solved a fundamental problem that had been holding digital art back for decades, and it unleashed a wave of creativity and investment that continues to reshape the art world today.
We've been exploring the evolution of digital art from its experimental beginnings in the 90s to the rise of online platforms and the tension between accessibility and exclusivity in the art market.
Right.
Now let's dive into the 2020s and the arrival of NFTs.
The emergence of NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, was a pivotal moment for digital art.
NFTs.
Yeah, for the first time, there was a way to establish verifiable ownership of digital assets.
That seems like such a simple concept, but it had huge implications.
It did.
It addressed a fundamental issue that had been plaguing digital art for decades, the problem of scarcity and authenticity.
Exactly. Before NFTs, it was difficult to prove that you owned a unique digital artwork.
Right, you could just copy it.
You could easily make copies, and there was no way to distinguish the original from the copies.
Yeah, that's always been the problem with digital art.
NFTs solved that problem by providing a way to create a digital certificate of authenticity that is recorded on a blockchain.
So suddenly, digital art had the same kind of scarcity and collectability that we associate with physical art.
Precisely.
This must have been a game changer for digital artists.
It absolutely was. Artists could now sell their digital creations directly to collectors, bypassing the traditional gatekeepers of the art world, like galleries and auction houses.
Wow, so they could finally make some real money.
This opened up a whole new world of possibilities for artists who had previously struggled to find a market for their digital work.
And collectors, especially those who were already comfortable in the digital space, were eager to embrace this new form of art ownership.
Oh yeah, they were lining up.
It was like a new frontier in art collecting.
It was the sale of Beeple's Every Days, the first 5,000 days, for a staggering $69 million at Christie's in 2021 was a watershed moment.
I remember that.
It signaled to the world that digital art and NFTs in particular had arrived on the big stage.
That sale really captured the public imagination and brought NFTs into the mainstream.
It did.
What I find interesting is that it wasn't just the price tag that made headlines. It was the fact that a digital artwork, something that existed only in the digital realm, could be sold for such an astronomical sum.
Right. It changed everything.
It challenged our traditional notions of what art is and what it can be worth.
Absolutely. And this led to an explosion of creativity and experimentation in the digital art space. Platforms like OpenSea emerged as the new marketplaces for this burgeoning digital art scene, connecting artists and collectors from all over the world.
It seems like these platforms really lowered the barriers to entry for both artists and collectors.
They did. Suddenly, anyone with an internet connection could create and sell digital art or build a collection of unique digital assets.
So it was really democratizing in a way.
In a lot of ways. And alongside the rise of NFTs, we saw the continued evolution of immersive art experiences.
Oh yeah, immersive art.
Remember TeamLab, the Japanese collective we talked about earlier?
Yeah, those guys are amazing.
They continued to attract millions of visitors with their mind-bending digital environments, blending art, technology, and nature in breathtaking ways.
And new venues like Outernet London emerged, offering even more immersive experiences that blurred the lines between art entertainment and technology.
Right. It was a whole new way to experience art.
These spaces weren't just about looking at art. They were about stepping inside the art, interacting with it, and becoming part of it.
It was a total sensory experience.
It's clear that audiences are increasingly drawn to these kinds of experiences where technology enhances and expands our engagement with art.
Definitely. So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for digital art?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Digital art is now an integral part of the art world. It's no longer a niche movement. And its influence will only continue to grow as technology evolves and new possibilities emerge. NFTs have opened up new ways for artists to create, share, and monetize their work, and they have empowered collectors to invest in a whole new category of art.
But there are still challenges to overcome.
Of course.
The environmental impact of blockchain technology, the issue of accessibility, and the need to educate both artists and collectors about the complexities of the digital art market are all important considerations as we move forward.
You're right, and these are issues that the art world is actively grappling with.
Right.
We're seeing the development of more sustainable blockchain solutions initiatives to make digital art more accessible to wider audiences and educational resources to help navigate the evolving landscape of digital art.
It's an exciting time to be following the evolution of digital art.
It is.
It's a dynamic field full of creativity, innovation, and a spirit of pushing boundaries.
The lines between the physical and digital worlds are blurring, and digital art is at the forefront of this transformation.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's Deep Dive.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through the fascinating world of digital art.
It was my pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
I hope so, too.
And remember to check out our show notes for links to some of the artists' artworks and resources we discussed today.
Be sure to do that.
Thanks for joining Next T Art. We hope you enjoyed today's insights. Remember to subscribe and share. Until next time, let's keep exploring art's future.